There is no way Paul George just scored 2 points against the Brooklyn Nets army of 2K generated players. Paul George himself looked like a 2K generated player fresh on a My Career save file, bricking every shot imaginable. Shot 1 for 7. Looked like a 60 overall out there. Bro should have put on a brown shirt because that's what he looked like tonight. Is Paul George the worst max contract in NBA history? I got to think about that. At least for the Sixers, he may have had the worst performance I've ever seen out of a dude making that much money. $212 million. Are you kidding me? I've seen Tobias Harris score 0 points in Game 6 of the NBA playoffs. But we expected that out of Tobias. Paul George was expected to be a legit third option for the Sixers this season. And here he is playing worse than Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris, he didn't have one performance like this in the regular season that really stands out to me in my experience watching him for 6 years. If there is one, let me know in the comments, but Paul George topped every single Tobias Harris disaster except Game 6 against the Knicks with this game tonight. 2 points, 1 for 7 shooting, and you played 37 minutes getting clamped up by G League players. Paul George is untradeable. Paul George is stuck on the 76ers, and we have to watch him for the next 4 years. Which rational NBA franchise will decide to invest in a guy who looks like he just does not care anymore? He got that $212 million and just sags in the corner the entire game. Yeah, Nick Nurse doesn't know how to use him at all. Sure. But even then, I don't think you could put much blame on Nick Nurse the way Paul George is clanking these shots and has no elevation, can't get his feet off the ground, can barely slash, can't create his own shot. Paul George is a first ballot Hall of Famer, but this is not a good way to go out. Playing like this on your last contract every single night, getting blown out by the worst teams in the league. Yeah, Embiid wasn't playing. Maxey wasn't playing. But this is so unacceptable. It just, words can't describe how awful Paul George was in this game. He just doesn't have it anymore. He is washed. We really hyped up the Paul George signing over the offseason, but we did not expect him to look this bad. He looks legitimately worse than Tobias Harris. Tobias Harris. He makes Tobias Harris look like OG Anunoby. It's just so amazing how the Sixers are just addicted to racking up terrible contracts. Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, now Paul George. But you didn't want to extend James Harden? James Harden is making another All-Star team and has the Clippers in the playoffs. Yet Daryl Morey did not want to bring him back because he looked washed. Yeah, he did not play that good in the Celtics series, but if it wasn't for his 2 really good performances, we would have gotten swept or just flat out humiliated, and that series would not have gone to 7 games. I know James Harden isn't well liked in Philly, but you got to admit, having James Harden on a max contract compared to Paul George is 8 quintillion times better. Would the latter years be bad? Sure. But there is no way James Harden would have this Sixers team at this horrendous of a record. The moves this organization makes every single time it backfires on them. I can't believe that they were able to steal Tyrese Maxey and Jared McCain, two young studs who you can build around for the future. But you are now stuck with Joel Embiid and Paul George, two pretty much untradeable contracts. I feel so much worse about this team and their future than I did back in 2020 when they overpaid for Al Horford and everybody was saying that the Sixers' future was screwed because he did not look good on the team, and with that contract, no one was going to trade for him. He was eventually traded to the Thunder as a salary dump, and we had to attach a pick for it, and that was our 2025 first-round pick. But at least they were able to move on from Al Horford because he was still a competent player. It was just that everyone realized that he was not a good fit next to Joel Embiid. Paul George, on the other hand, is the exact type of player you want to have with Joel Embiid. It's just that he's washed. He can't catch and shoot anymore. He can't drive to the basket anymore. He can't drive fouls. He can barely defend. Can't keep guys in front of him. Quentin Grimes, when he came to the Sixers, he did everything that we expected Paul George to do. He had 30 points tonight, 10 for 18, 4 for 9 from deep. He does everything we thought Paul George would do, if you think about it. He can catch and shoot. He can beat guys off the dribble, create his own shot. He had a couple of excellent drives to the basket, nice one-handed slams, was drawing fouls, running in transition, had an excellent, Bona got a good defensive stand, Nets player missed it, then Jared Butler hurled it all the way over to Grimes in the corner because he was there in a split second after the defensive possession was completed. A guy who actually runs in transition and takes advantage of the other team getting back on defense and had a great corner three, just doing the little things. Quentin Grimes looked more like someone who was deserving of a max contract than Paul George did, to be 100% honest. Quentin Grimes is better than Paul George at this point, which is insane for me to say, given what we thought Paul George would be with this team. But it's just the truth at this point. It's just the truth that these role players, Kelly Oubre Jr., Gershon Yabusele, Quentin Grimes, they can give you so much more than Paul George can. And Paul George looks lost out there. And it's not just the expectations of him having a max contract anymore. It is because he can't be traded. But just as someone who tries to produce on the basketball court, he doesn't do anything. He's just like Tobias Harris in the sense that he fades, he just blends right into the game. You look at the TV, see him on the court, it's like, oh wait, Paul George is playing? Just the loser energy that radiates off of him is something this Sixers team can't have in the twilight years of Joel Embiid's career. It's insane that we locked ourselves into yet another Tobias Harris ordeal. And now we got to deal with it for a really long time. And it's going to suck. But there is one silver lining in all of this. And it is the fact that the Sixers have an opportunity to secure a high draft pick if the season continues to plummet. You may think I'm delusional for even suggesting that there is a silver lining in all of this, but it is true. The 76ers, in their loss to the Brooklyn Nets, soared in the draft lottery odds and have the 6th best odds in securing the number 1 overall pick, which they're probably not going to get, but this is important because they have a better chance at getting a pick within the top 6. And our protection says that any pick that's not outside the top 6 goes to the OKC Thunder. So the Sixers are lining themselves up to tank the rest of the season. The All-Star break just ended. The management has time to really consider where this season is going, and I hope they choose the direction to tank the year, because this is not going anywhere. Daryl Morey knows that. Josh Harris knows that. No matter what they say to the media, they know this season is fried. And you got to tank. You need to tank. I don't see why not. You're not going anywhere. Don't tell me that the Sixers are going to go on some miracle playoff run like they're the 8th seed in Miami Heat. It's not going to happen. Joel Embiid looks injured whenever he steps on the court. And the Sixers look worse when he's on the court, to be honest. We thought that they were going to go on a bit of a resurgence when they had that decent winning streak about a month ago with all the young guys playing with PG and Embiid out. But now that we lost 5 straight games, this season is pretty much down in the dumps completely. There's no point in going on any sort of playoff run. But the Sixers do have a decent chance at getting a top 6 pick. Let's just, for fun, because us Sixers fans have not been having much fun, simulate the lottery. There we go. Oh, number 1. Cooper Flagg, you're a Philadelphia 76er. This is what I'm talking about. Daryl Morey, if you're watching this video, everybody, send this video to Daryl Morey. I just simulated the lottery, and because of the Sixers' odds, they have a much higher chance of getting the first overall pick. This is a significant upgrade from our previous odds. You got to do it, Daryl. Number two, Dylan Harper, welcome to the Philadelphia 76ers. 6, not bad. 8, all right, we'll ignore that. No, we'll ignore that too. That too. That too. That too. That's 6. Oh, yep, number 2. Number 2 again. This has to happen. Daryl Morey, please. Please do this. Please tank the season.